be singing a few arias and a couple of duets with Dame Kiri Te Kanawa. It's an acknowledgement from Kiri to me to say that I'm at a stage now where I'm good enough to grace the stage with her, which is a huge honour. It's not daunting, but at the same time you never forget who she is. She has had a career that's spanned decades and she's been the best at what she does. I'm really looking forward to stepping on stage with her and showing what I've got.
Till as old as time,
true as it can be,
true as it can be, and even friends, when somebody bends unexpectedly.
I do quite often have moments where I think this can't be happening. To be standing on stage with a world-renowned superstar, sometimes it does wash over me to think, oh, such a lucky man. I do think of my sisters, and I think of where we all were, in that home growing up. We grew up in Lipscomb Crescent, myself and 5 younger sisters. Neither of my parents had jobs, and they were partial to the drink, and my dad in particular was partial to quite a few drugs, and the result of that, I guess, is a violent and unsettled upbringing, really. Our mum found it hard to get help for us because all the neighbours were in the same sort of boat. If you dared to say something, the treatment would be twice as bad. After a severe beating by my father and threats that he would come back and do some more, she jumped in a car, not fully known how to drive, packed up the children and left. Unfortunately, it was in a severe car crash. My 2 twin sisters were injured, having both sort of gone through the windscreen. My mum has never forgiven herself for that. Mum couldn't watch us all the time, but I was the oldest. There were lots of opportunities to just take myself off whenever I liked. I used to bike up Tomato Peak and sit up there. Whilst I was up there, I'd always kind of wished that things might get better with my dad and Mum, or something else would happen that could just sort of, give us a better life, because it's just outside your front door. You can see there is a better life to live. And I wished that I could be part of that somehow. So it was a place of hope, but without any sort of knowledge of what that could be. My father knew the difference between right and wrong, and I think all of the decisions he had made had weighed heavily in his consciousness. He had always had suicidal tendencies and had threatened my mother to kill himself. Eventually it was those suicidal tendencies that he gave into after a life of bad decisions, really. Our mum was in such a state that she couldn't look after us, having lost the man she loved, and as bad as he was, he provided for her in his own way. So social welfare intervened and ripped us away from our mother, which was, at the time, really hard. Initially we were split up as well, but it only took a few months before I was put into the family home that my 2 sisters, Selena and Katrina, were in. The people who looked after us at the time said, "Oh, you've got some new people coming to look after you," and I can remember just waiting all day for them to arrive and hoping that they might be a bit better.
So we walk up there and you see these kids. Phillip stood back, and understandably so. You know, here was the man of the house.
He had had some real bad experiences in his life. I could see on their faces, who are these people? You know, are they going to love me? It was really an emotional time for them, frightening time. Not only that, it was quite scary for us too, because we had a newborn baby as well as our own.
I sort of felt there was something better right away. And that was simply by being greeted by them with a big hug. And
we just put our arms around them and said that we love them and we're here to take care of them.
The first instance was getting a big hug from Pam, and she was already in tears, and we knew those were tears of love, and that she didn't want to see children ill-treated. And that was the first sign of hope, really.
He's only 10 years old, but he had matured beyond years. He had to. He had to literally grow up overnight.
When we first were fostered, I did take on the mantle as the man of the house, but that was in a manner that I was raised, which meant discipline was slapping my sisters, beating them. And it took a long time for my parents just to break that down slowly.
It takes you about 12 months just to get to first base. You know, it's not that this boy didn't like us. He's wondering, well, you know, I've got my nearest and dearest. They're the most precious thing, the only thing I have in this world. And if I'm going to hand them over to you, you better darn well make sure you step up to the plate. Not only now, but forever and ever. And then I began the process of taking that burden from him. Basically said to him, you can trust me. I want to be the father to you and your sisters. I want to be the protector and the guardian. I want you to enjoy being a little boy. I love my eggs. My mum, she used to pick up the odd child here and there, indeed the odd family, and remove them from that volatile environment they were in. And as a result of that, Pam and I, we became quite intoxicated by the outcomes, you know.
Bring your kids in, boy. Come on.
Simply by giving them 3 square meals a day, a roof over their heads and clothes on their back and some love and sense of value, it just made such a huge difference in their lives.
What are you going to have, Raymond? I'll let you.
We ended up running a home for children, young persons and their family services, and 200 children later. So it's been an amazing journey.
Ake. Amene. Charge.
Wonderful kids, and to see them blossom to where they are today. They've taught us so much.
Oh,
It's all right.
she's dejected now.
We did discuss going into the family home. We did discuss taking on other children. But you can talk about it all you like. But when reality kicks in, well, that puts another spin on it. Our children are unsung heroes simply because they put their own lives on the back burner for the sake of others. They shared their rooms. They shared their stuff. They shared their parents.
The world got flipped on its head a wee bit. All of a sudden we had parents who were engaging with us, dragging us off the sofa to go out and play tennis or football or basketball, or getting us active. And the other thing was getting us communicating with each other and laughing with each other. And a lot of it was done with song. Henare is always keen to get the guitar out and show off how good he was at singing. I loved it, and this whole family, they could all sing.
It was part of the healing because it brought a sense of joy, it generated laughter, and if you want to work with children, you'd better have a sense of humour.
Lucky we had a big house. And they'd be singing in the shower, and they'd kids running here, there, everywhere, trying to get shower. It was real chaos at times, but, you just got through it.
Where I came into my own was through, being a bit of a clown. So I never felt left out, but at the same time I always stood back in a little bit of fear and admiration for what they could do.
It was in him, just that his life until that point kind of suppressed it all. He was busy being a warrior, busy fighting and scrapping for survival. But when that was sorted for him, then this natural, beautiful, shining jewel that had been sitting in there started to pour forth.
I was surprised when people would say, "Oh, gee, you can sing." But even then I didn't know if it was singing I would get into, I liked being in front of people.
Some of your same students.
Phyllis.
And including our people in the offices for Rhodes.
Oh, yeah. I think my sort of high school days, lunch was a big attraction.
So what's going on? Where's the food?
I wasn't an overly attentive student. I sort of enjoyed getting about and talking to a whole lot of different people.
And my parents said, look, you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to go on a rugby tour or a choir tour? Because you can't miss that much school. I would have missed six weeks school. I said rugby tour.
Sports was the thing I was into.
So this is Kahurangi, which is our Māori classroom, and up top is our tiko tiko, and he represents our whole school. That's why he's up the top, because he looks out for everyone.
I was about 16 at the time, and I'd been walking home and I bumped into a man who knew my father, and he gave me a hard time, really. And I went home, not in tears, but angry about who I was, and that people are always going to see me as Stephen Rhodes' son, And I remember going home and saying to Dad, "Oh, can I have changed my name to your name?"
Whilst we're all flattered and excited by the prospect of him taking on our name, Pam said, well, let's hang on a moment.
Would have been really nice, but then I thought, no, it's not about him. He's got other sisters that have been through much of the same as him. They need to be recognised because they're still his family. And I said to him, son, keep up Rhodes and put the mana back into it for you and your sisters.
I think at that time I was quite devastated. I took it as they don't want me to be an O'Keefe. But that only stuck with me for a couple of days until the real message got through, and it was then that I realised that I've got to start being responsible again. In fifth form, I was in an English class with a man named Ken Keys. He was our teacher, and he was sort of ramming down our throat the Shakespeare.
Just moving away a little bit when necessary. Take it cool, okay? And from the start, go.
What you playing at?
Nothing. It's dead late, Derek. I'd better be getting indoors.
A lot of kids came into drama like Phillip, who, you know, weren't sure where they were going, what they were doing. He was very unsure of himself at the time. Great astonishment. And then think about what you're after, right?
We used to have to read a chunk out, and that always scared me. So I'd start getting the shakes as it got closer to my turn to read. I became fearful of just making a mistake and being ridiculed. And it came to my turn, and it just sort of started to flow a little bit. And, you know, I think he sort of thought, well, I might just encourage this boy who doesn't throw himself into anything.
He just had that natural tomfoolery, you know, being a clown. And something about the performing arts and drama got to him, as it does to a lot of people.
In seventh form, we had to perform an item of Shakespeare for a regional competition. We won the regionals, went off to nationals, which is the Sheila Wynne Shakespeare Festival.
When I said I would die a bachelor, I did not think I would live till I were married.
I had a great time, and the crowd were laughing, and they were all school kids who were competition. And I remember thinking then, well, if the competition's laughing at us, we must be doing all right.
If it had been painful, I would not have come.
Oh, you take pleasure in the message then?
You've got 400 or 500 students from all over New Zealand attending the Sheila Wynne Festival, and be singled out as the best actor. I think it was a huge thing for him.
That was a real proud moment, and not only that, when he came home that night, we had Frank Bunce, Michael Jones and Jonah Lomu at our house come in with his trophy, and Jonah just grabbed him and had a photo with him, and oh, it was just wonderful.
And I think it was the start of realising that, well, I must have some potential here. Once I finished high school, I attended a drama school in Hawke's Bay, and after sort of 7 or 8 months on the course, I realised it wasn't really for me, and switched courses and went over to the singing course. I finished that year, and my younger sister was without a place to live, and I felt a responsibility to look after her and provide for her. So I worked at a bar.
Hi there.
Got my manager's ticket and started managing the bar.
Are you joining us for some lunch?
Oh, I might just have a coffee if I can.
No,
it was the local singing barman.
You're that singing barman, eh?
Oh, cut it out. The music I was singing at the bar was sort of Engelbert Humperdinck, Tom Jones, basically everything I was raised on from my parents.
I think he'd spent more time on that than behind the bar. And that's where I think he got the confidence to start singing.
An old classmate brought in the new tutor, Patrick Power, who had just taken over at the school as the head tutor.
And one of the students said, "Oh, you want to hear this guy sing, the bar manager? Boy, he got a voice." And so they switched on the karaoke machine and he let rip, and I thought, "Ooh, this is a voice of some class."
He encouraged me to come back and finish my studies. He felt, even from hearing what I was doing in the bar, that there could be potential for a career. I was looking at singing in Jesus Christ Superstar and Les Miserables and things like that. And the encouragement was to become a better singer through being classically trained. Getting up and singing the pop tunes, it was just, you got the top note choice, bro. And when you got the classical music, there was so much in it that's what really started to draw me in, was all this information that's in one piece of music, and how do I get that across to people. So I just slowly chipped away at getting some singing done and holding down a job. The following year I was a young artist with New Zealand Opera. I continued to work privately with Patrick, and I was looking at lining up competitions.
The thing about competitions is they really sharpen you up. And of course there is the chance that if you do really well in them, you get a pile of money to help you do further study.
The Lockwood was a funny competition for me. I never felt confident at all, even though I was at a stage where I was singing the best I ever had. And I won that eventually. After the Lockwood, we set the plan in motion for the next big competition, the Lexus. My father joined me on the day of the final in Auckland.
We stood out on the balcony and I just can remember saying to him, "Geez, look at this, son. This is a long way from Lipscomb Crescent."
You know, he sat there in his ever positive manner and said, "Oh, I can feel tonight's your night." You know, he said, "I can feel it."
It was his time, his season, for all the hurt and the trials and the tribulations and the grief. It was payback time. For me, it was a very new experience. You know, I came from sausage sizzles, hangi and rugby. That was my world. I think I borrowed a suit, had to borrow a tie, borrow a shirt. And I'm thinking, geez, they've come to see my son. They've come to see my son. All those singers were magnificent. Each one of them would have done the title proud. But I have to say he had that little bit extra. That dark side came through, you know. It was in full force. It was as if all the anguish, all the hurt, the violence, the abuse, all of that he just rolled it up in a little ball and it just poured out of him.
When the announcement was made and I'd won the prize, I you know, could just see my father sort of weeping, you know.
And tonight, the winner of the Lexus.
It was a moment of all moments. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the Lexus 2007 is, and then his name just cuts through the air,
Phillip Rhodes.
I remember the look on my dad's face. It was bigger than the prize itself, and I'll forever hold on to that. He thought back to that time when we talked about me changing my name, and he said,
"Geez, you know, that name's looking pretty good now."
That's the name. He's brought that honour back, and you know, he's my son, but he's doing it for more than just me, more than just himself. Every Phillip Rhodes that's out there with an abusive father and a disruptive home. The day after winning the Lexus, the phone rang. It was in my hotel room, and I answered it. And the reply was, "It's Kiri here." And I said, "Kiri who?" And she said, "It's Kiri Te Kanawa here. I want you to fly to Melbourne." You know, I thought someone was winding me up. And I asked again, sorry, who is this? And she said, it's Kiri Te Kanawa. I want you to go and audition for Dennis O'Neill. Congratulations, by the way.
La mia bottiglia d'acqua torto, non mia moglie se stessa. Volai da sorte, quella brutta parola in cor mi torna e torna.
The foundation paid for me to fly to Melbourne, and they also paid for Patrick to take me there, so I wasn't there on my own.
It sounded a really good course. To get into it, your student had to be recommended by a great opera singer. So Philip's recommendation on that scale was Kiri.
My memories of that audition are very clear. You know, he was this strong personality, strong-willed, very theatrical man. He had an incredible dramatic talent, very, very rare, and a fabulous voice.
He liked what I was doing initially, so it was enough for him to offer a part scholarship to study at his school. I think it chopped it down to about $45,000 left to raise.
I can remember saying to her, Ma, yeah, that's a lot of sausage sizzles.
I discussed with Dennis if I could join the school at a later time. He was amicable for that, but Kiri wasn't so much at the time. And I think a wee bit she thought, well, if he thinks he can go it on his own, why not let him do it?
Proud Maori, and Maori men look after themselves and they do this. And I really took that. I thought that was pretty amazing.
I did the jobs that earned quite a bit of money, and I called on my family and friends to help me out with a big concert in Hawke's Bay. And, you know, just that one night we got up to about $30,000, and, you know, with the Lexus scholarship we were well covered, and that was 1 year in Cardiff sorted. And I'm grateful to my community and to my family and friends for that. You know, when I left, it was a reminder of where my marae is, and that I'll always come home to that place.
It is vital that he maintains that connection, because that's where the sustenance comes from, the support, the love. We call it manaaki whakawhanaungatanga. Not that Māori have a monopoly on those things, but that very culture, I mean, he knows that no matter where he is in the world, he has this safe haven to come back to.
Sometimes he'd get lost going to school or going into Hastings. You know? He's hopped on a plane and, just beautiful.
I was really excited, nervous, yeah. I didn't know what I was going to face, but I was lucky that I was going to land in an English-speaking country, for starters. I had 2 days rest to catch up on the jet lag and straight into working, really. And our first day was listening to the other 15 students, and I was blown away by the talent in the room, and you know, every singer was better than the next, it felt like.
Hey, how you doing? Jane, everyone.
Dennis O'Neill is huge here in Wales, of course, and throughout the UK. He's done what I hoped to do, you know, he's sung at all the big houses.
I set up the International Academy of Voice to tackle the problem, as I saw it, of particularly talented people being dumbed down, particularly in very large conservatoires where you might have 150 young people, out of whom the usual percentage is no more than 3% are going to even make a living out of it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference. And, of course, in a big house, that will travel.
Yeah.
Now, largo. Now,
Voice production is my major thing.
That's the note. Yeah.
Simply because I had to learn to do it. I really wasn't a natural.
I like the idea that you actually go through.
Yeah.
Because it's much more sensible.
It became a sort of scientific hobby, really. And it is science, there's a science of singing, the physical process of healthily producing a good noise, and then there's the art of singing.
Dennis could feel that I was resistant to a lot of his teaching because it was a huge mind shift for me to make, to go away from parking and barking, really, just standing and screaming my head off, to actually singing.
His vocal production was natural. But you have to sing, I think, with your brain and your heart. And he was singing with his heart. And he's got a very good brain, so I thought we'd put that to work a little bit more.
So, be the smoothie and save yourself.
Eventually it got to a point where he said, right, you're going to have to make a decision whether to trust me or not. That was it, really. Over a period of about 6 months, a lot of things started to make sense.
It works, doesn't it? Yeah.
I'm not a believer in this, don't get close to your students. In music, if you're not close to somebody, you're not communicating, then you're not really giving of yourself. It's not like teaching chemistry.
The foundation liked what they heard after that year and were very happy to support me for another 2 years' study. Life in Wales is easy, a lot like life in New Zealand, really. And they speak the language of rugby and song.
7 of us, so enough for 12.
The Māori sense of humour gets a bit lost. People were a bit sort of not sure whether I was joking or not.
What about Mr. Crocagator? Hi! Do you like Welsh Panda? He's nice, isn't he, boyo?
I met Gemma at the university, actually, and she just blew me off my feet, really.
What sort of accent are you going to have when you grow up, little girl?
Really wonderful girl, and, a couple of years down the track, we've got my first child, and there's just no love like it. And I can't for the life of me see how anyone could harm such an innocent child. How can anyone do that? I was scared of it for a long time, scared of being a parent, because, who can really say 100% they know themselves? I don't know when my father fell off the tracks and started doing what he did. At 10 years old, we were fostered away from that family, and then thrown into a family of just being sort of engrossed in love and covered in love and love so much that you had to rebel against it for a wee while, and you put up walls against it. How can they love me that much, and until you realise it's true. Wow, they really do love me, these people. They really do, and they are really upset and hurt when I do something to offend them. That, of course, has a huge influence on the way I see my child, and, I know which side of life worked better for me, and I know that just love is the key, love is the answer. I've got to love that child as much as I can, and when she says stop loving me, I've got to love her some more,
Oh, you're a natural. You're a natural. Look at them, they're running for the hills. Look at them. They're running in fear.
You've got to keep your voice working every day. Part of the discipline of the job is that you've got to do the vocal warm-ups. Like any athlete, you've got to do the exercises. Once I've done my warm-ups, it's into the work. The work may mean for the next 2 hours translating. Seldom are the pieces in English. So basically you've got to sit there with the dictionary and pick apart every word that's written on the page so you know exactly what you're singing. You still may not get the sense of what the composer wants. You've got to work with people who are natives to this language.
И может быть на много дней. Супружество нам будет мукой.
There's some work cut out, haven't we? Not only you've got the words to learn, you've got the notes to learn. You've got how all of that fits together. You've got to memorise it, you know, all of these things. And you've often got to do it quite quickly. You've got to have ears you can trust.
Not to eat. Yeah.
I'm always thinking about eating. To eat, not to eat. Чужда.
Yeah. Чужда. It is extremely important that Phil will understand every single word, because then he will be able to live his role. And that's exactly what the audience come to the opera theatre for, to see the real life there on stage.
He's a bit of a downer, isn't he?
The marriage is going to be agony for us, I'm sorry. You can't cheat on audience. It senses straight away like this.
And you have to do that right through an entire opera, not just what you're singing. So it's a hell of a lot of work that has to go into just singing one 2-minute song. If I had have known it was going to be so much hard work, I think I might have got a job at the freezing works. No, honestly, I think as much as it's hard work, it's enjoyable work. There are times where I think to myself, I can't be bothered today. It's no different to rugby. There were mornings where my brother and I would wake up and say, I'm not going for a run today. And that's all Dad would say. Oh, the other fella is. The other fella that'll be standing at halfway after they've scored a try to win the game, they'll be out there running today, and that's enough, isn't it? I mean, you don't want to lose, and you don't want to have got to that audition, left the audition, and thought, oh, I should have done that extra 2 hours. That's just the discipline of it. You've got to get in there and do it. And because that other baritone is, or in fact in this business, that other 3,000 baritones are. So it's a competitive job and you've got to treat it as such. I keep fit mostly because I enjoy it. And for this industry, no longer are people willing to accept that you can be on stage being a romantic hero, wooing thousands of ladies and be sort of, close to 30 stone. They're not willing to deal with that. I'm going to be working along with a few other Kiwi singers at Kiri's. Probably once every couple of months there's a gathering there. She's got a tough lineup of teachers and coaches there this week.
We've got ginger sweeties if you want. If you suddenly have no voice, that'll do it. And she's behaving, which is very good. Our little soloist.
I'll do that for now. And then we can talk about it.
What we're doing on weekends like this is the singers get almost a pressure cooker course, and so we come in from outside and say, we hear it like this.
These young people who I want to encourage will get this wealth of knowledge coming at them. It's coming at them too hard and fast sometimes. They can't always absorb it. But that doesn't matter. Something will come out of it. You don't get this sort of group of people in one room who've worked with all the greats. I mean, Robin Stapleton has worked for all his life with Pavarotti and Domingo.
He calls out different names, doesn't he? Soft, all these need to be different in a way, or they need to build. You give everything from the word go.
Yeah. Robin is probably one of the toughest coaches I've ever worked with, mainly because his standards are so high.
All these thoughts in your mind. Yeah. We haven't quite got that idea, the change in the colour.
The first time I met him, he sort of hollered and screamed at me, and I wanted to throw my book in his face.
I don't feel that there was a growing of the violence.
And it was another case of calling Kiri and saying, this daft old man yells and screams at me, and she says, but I bet you've learned something. That comment from Kiri completely changed my deciding I won't work with him to deciding, actually, I need to work with him more.
I said, whatever's thrown at you, you take it, because this is done with kindness.
You kind of got to have a team of people you trust that know when you're singing well and know when you're singing not well and aren't shy to tell you.
Put the D where it's written. It is no good telling people that they're wonderful all the time. There's far too much of that.
Downstairs break tea.
Yes.
You've got to be physically strong, mentally very strong. You've got to be able to take all the abuse that they throw at you like they do upstairs there.
You've just got to keep in your mind it's not personal. It comes down to your integrity as well. What do you want to achieve in this career? And, you know, I want to be the best at what I do. So it's worth the effort.
They have to have great resilience to make it in this business. There are many people who want to. Very few do.
I'm not brought up in classical music. I've brought up in the tradition of kapa haka. I had my kind of Kiwi girl spirit of, oh yeah, I'll give it a go, you know, see what happens. And it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of discipline.
Kiri.
It's so easy, it's all up there. The situation is really, really difficult now for young singers. There's no scholarships over here. There's nothing. Not to the advantage of any New Zealanders. When a young person sings these days, they normally say, it's okay, what's your visa situation? Oh, well, I can only stay here a year. I say, well, terribly sorry, but we can't audition you because you don't rate.
No! What have you done wrong?
If I'd come now, I wouldn't have had a career, if I'd come at this point.
What?
So that's why, in lots of ways, the foundation is set up.
She's built this up almost single-handedly, collected an enormous sum of money. She puts things on, sings in them, you know, donates fees and all that sort of thing. It's quite remarkable.
We're constantly around of people trying to look for the next generation of singer and to help them.
It really is fantastic that she puts herself out there for young singers.
And it's also good for all the singers to get together, I think, as well, all the New Zealanders and then some international students as well.
There's a comma.
Yes.
Now, that's going to... You're saying quietly night, huh? It's not quietly night.
The pianist, the coach, is wonderful. Just so tough, you know. I feel very nervous now, and yes, I don't know what will happen. Just finger crossed.
You've got an idea of the interpretation of the song, which works very well, but I'm not sure it's your interpretation.
We know that. It's lovely what you do, but you have copied somebody. We know that. You're very naughty. I was 5 years in Hong Kong studying, and of course, you know, not too many teachers come out there. So, of course, everything was learned from YouTube, and his hero, of course, adorable Jose Carreras.
Yeah, he teaches me a lot on the YouTube, yeah. It's a very funny story, yeah.
Dame Kiri has been a phenomenal mentor to me, as much personally as professionally. She's kind of really taken on board a Kiwi mum kind of position for me.
Oh, I'm definitely the Reverend Mother. You know, they have to help clean, and yet the kids, they love to come down here and they love to do things, you know, changing beds today and all that sort of thing. That's good for them.
I quite enjoy it. It's much easier than singing. See, perfect.
She's tough. She's got your back 100%, but she's pushing you forward.
I'm not there to sort of just be a pushover. You have to perform and sing well.
There are, of course, lots of different paths to sort of make a career, and I'm still at the very beginning of forging that.
I want to see him as a successful international singer, and I think he has the ingredients for that.
He has to have the magic dust. He's got it.
I'm believing now that you've just got to get out there as much as you can.
So what I try to do is I have them singing for people who are important, and sometimes those important people use them, which is what I'm aiming for.
I think he's just on the cusp of becoming someone really interesting and important, and certainly hearing him sing earlier, I thought to myself, here's a man that we need to keep an eye on with a view to roles in the future.
He has a huge stage presence. He just knows what to do with an audience. He knows how to bring the audience into him.
The benefits to the life I've had is that there is a lot to draw on, and I've seen a lot of emotions in life.
When you're a 10-year-old boy and you've been raised in a home where violence and anger are part and parcel of that upbringing, you have to put on a certain facade in order to survive.
You know, I do know what suffering is, and, you know, as much as I would never want to live through that again, I'd never want to give it up.
So he's got all of that to draw on. You know, that's what continues to fuel the fire within.
The most important things I want to achieve in life is to remain humble,
And if I get to do those things like sing around the world and make a good living from singing, it'll be a wonderful bonus.
I was very, very proud. I don't see how he can't have a career. The odds were stacked enormously against him. And of course, he owes a lot of that to Henry and the whole family. But Philip's done it himself.
He has been a victim of his past, but he is definitely not a prisoner of it.
If I was to meet my father today, I'd meet him with love and show him, I think show him the man he knew he could have been. And I would show him the beautiful children he created. And probably thank him for the choice he made and leaving us to it. Yeah.
I want our children to be better than us in every way. More articulate, more loving, more caring, more humble. That's what I feel when he's on stage. But I feel pride. You know, I feel all of those things. But I also feel that I know when he's up on that stage, he gives hope to others.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.